you knew exactly how to position my company for me to get individuals to sign up.
What's going on, Matt? How are you doing?
I'm good, man. How about yourself?
Having myself a day, a good day. So
I like it.
4th of July is tomorrow. We're enjoying. We're looking forward to that. So
go up to the lake a little bit.
That's a good idea. For people who don't know, obviously I know you're involved in a couple businesses, but specifically the one we were working together on. Tell me about that business, how that company works, etc.
Yeah, so essentially we run paid ads for music events and festivals. So different artists that come to different locations, different venues, but also the different festivals that are held throughout the United States. 90 West specifically, we handle about 5 to 10 different festivals a year. And then on top of that, we have partnerships with about 30 plus venues throughout the United States, all the way from the West Coast all the way to the East Coast.
So who's actually purchasing from you? Like, I don't understand. I mean,
yeah, so
making that decision.
Yeah, so a few different people. So I work with, I would say, 3 different types of people. So you have your record labels. A lot of record labels actually own the venues themselves. And then they kind of have different offshoots of their business. And then the next group of people are promoters. So individual members that essentially book for specific venues, but they actually have to pay for the space themselves. And then we actually have the sole proprietor owners of the venues themselves that handle everything from booking to talent to even, bars and booze and food and all that good stuff.
It's an interesting industry. I learned a lot about it from kind of my involvement with the project.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's really interesting, especially once you have your big giants like Live Nation, but then you also have a lot of more of the independent venues, which I worked with, that are all part of NEVA.
Now, why did you initially decide to launch a newsletter or start to work with Orbit Marketing? Yeah,
so it was really to kind of build 2 aspects of the business. It was to build the authority and also be able to connect with prospects and connect with my current clients. I think that, we can sign clients all day long, but a lot of the time they don't understand that at the same time that there's so much things changing, especially in this industry, especially over the last 2 years. So much was changing as we were going against all the Live Nation legal repercussions that were going on and how that was changing the landscape of independent music venues. It was to show them that we are keeping up to date and that we aren't just here to run paid ads, but we also understand the space themselves, especially because within the music industry, everybody is tied to one another and everyone is deeply rooted to the culture that it's hard to trust people. And you have to build that trust and that authority to be able to actually bring these clients on.
What have been some of the benefits or results you saw from the newsletter?
Yeah, so I had individuals that I ended up booking calls with or even ended up signing deals with that were on my newsletter for a few weeks. And then all of a sudden they're like, oh, we signed up. And then eventually we were like, oh, he actually knows what he's talking about. Let's get involved. Let's book a call. So that was kind of the first instance. And then throughout the nurturing process, a lot of these deals would close pretty quickly, but then some of them would linger 3 to 4 weeks. So when that would happen, they would still be getting these emails that we were working on. And then they would hit up and go, oh, you just, called out something in the newsletter that's affecting us right now. What are your thoughts? And then that would just kind of reopen the conversation. And then those guys would end up becoming clients long-term, a little longer down kind of that sales journey. So it helped kind of nurture prospects in that process. And then the other side of it is just kind of giving our current clients a good read, just because there is a lot of noise and many, many different public forums of just like the top resources and top, news articles. And what was nice was working with you, we could kind of pick and choose the type of content that we wanted to provide our readers rather than just saying like, okay, here's everything about Taylor Swift. We could avoid that as much as possible where it's like, hey, maybe we'll call it out once, but we could really actually specify exactly the type of content that we wanted our newsletter to hold. And I think that was the most important piece out of everything.
Yeah, we had a lot of internal documentation that was like, if anyone tries to add anything related to Taylor Swift to this newsletter, and like you need to wait like another like 8 weeks. Like I don't know if we had a full quota system that organized, but it's like an intuitive sense of this is how we prevent people from being terribly annoyed with us.
Yeah, and it was definitely like right when the Super Bowl was going on and she got super big and she was making all the money and her movie came out. So it was nice to kind of work with you guys and make sure that we could get that out of our newsletter as quick as possible.
Exactly. I think the other aspect that you really hammered in on there that I think a lot of people don't always fully appreciate is it's so like you can only just follow up with somebody like one-to-one, like an email from Matt to prospect. Hey bro, like, want to chat, want to buy, still interested, like that's, you can only do that so many times without them just fully being pissed off and annoyed versus, and you also don't have a deep enough relationship with these people where if for you to just send him, hey, I just thought you'd like this article. Like, you know, there's some situations where that can kind of seem natural-ish, but if most of us are being honest, like you don't really develop that level of rapport in most sales interactions to where now you're just going to casually start sending him broad industry news. Maybe if something very random and specific happens, but you like can't count on that. Whereas for this, it's like, hey, one, you can kind of add people to the list and mention it in the sales call as a resource. You can promote it on LinkedIn because it does make sense to connect with someone on LinkedIn after a sales call, regardless of how it went. And then they can get on your list and kind of see your feed. But also you can just kind of add a prospect to this list and say, if you don't like this, here's a chance to opt out. But if people are like, I'll just give this a shot, and then it's kind of doing that gradual nurturing. So it's a powerful tool.
Yeah, and I think even to add on to that even more, there were a couple instances where I had current clients see the newsletters and they would hit me up separately and just be like, hey, this was great. And aside from that, they were sharing certain articles from the newsletter itself to their network. Within this industry, it's very network heavy. Like a lot of my clients also are very much referrals. So when they would share it over and just forward the email, a lot of those individuals would end up subscribing. So then all of a sudden I have somebody else in my funnel and I didn't even do anything. It was more of my prospects or my current clients sharing, you know, what I have provided them, and what you had provided them. So it was kind of nice from that aspect as well.
Yeah, I think, you know, the nice thing about this business, we don't charge anymore based on who we're writing to, right? We charge to write the email. And the more people you get on the list, the happier we are, because it's like the more likely good things are going to happen for you. The only cost is with the ESP, right? If you add 100,000 people to an email list, you have to pay Beehive or MailChimp for those subscribers. But it just, you know, a lot of people on Twitter and kind of these other like entrepreneur circles talk about just the surface area for luck and the amount of conversations that can happen. So there's a lot of, you know, direct response marketing where you can see people who are super engaged on the list and like use that information to prospect in other ways. But it's also just like you had mentioned, just casual conversations starting that would have otherwise not have happened, and more interactions and more collisions, more like pinballing with the universe for good things to happen for your business.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think also, which was super nice, is instead of it always being that direct contact, it's very much how I like to run the ads, especially with the venues, is people sometimes aren't going to just purchase a ticket to purchase a ticket. Sometimes you kind of have to convince them. So that way to be able to nurture a prospect, similar to how we nurture individuals through our ads, is kind of that overarching effect of just stemming from one thing to another, and just leading to good things, which is like ultimately the primary focus for all businesses, or at least should be, is not just, you know, that initial, you know, direct response type of acquisition, but also being able to nurture the customer and really kind of build that trust before you have to sell them on something. And it also makes it a lot easier.
It's just slow burn brand building, and it's low maintenance from at least your perspective.
Yeah, exactly. And the low maintenance was huge. It was like, you guys would send me the newsletter on like a Monday. Hey, does this look good? I'd be like, yes or no. And then like, it would be up and running by Wednesday. And that was like reoccurring for like 3 or 4 months, which was like perfect. So it was super hands off, which I loved. But at the same time, I could be as hands on as I wanted to. you guys just did such a good job at putting the articles together that I didn't even have to say, no, I don't want this. I want this instead. Maybe then more than like once or twice over the course of like the 4 months and like 16 to 20 different emails.
That's awesome. Aside from that, any other aspect that was kind of your favorite parts of working with us, or something you say to someone who's hesitant?
Yeah, I think a lot. I think at first I was thinking like, oh, this has to be very like design heavy and it has to be so professional, like you used Photoshop and like I'm paying, you know, the top designer. But I think then I kind of took a step back and trusted the process of how you guys designed the newsletter, how you designed the sign up like lander, and trust that process. And it just ended up, you know, working in both of our favors where, hey, I didn't have to make you guys become Photoshop kings and queens, but also you knew exactly how to position my company for me to get individuals to sign up.
Awesome. If I know, like we kind of have discussed a few times offline, you have a lot of projects right now, but people watching this want to learn more about what you're doing. What's kind of the set of offers these days? What are you up to?
Yeah, just 90usdigital.com. We will run your first show for free, guaranteeing that you will sell it out. Of course, there's some stipulations on how much you need to spend and whatnot, but you'll be extremely profitable, and we make it super seamless and easy for you to essentially sell more tickets, which a lot of the time and now is harder. So yeah, that's really about it.
Cool. Well, thanks, Matt. Appreciate it.
Yeah, man. Thank you so much. And yeah, I appreciate everything that you guys have done.